I have been working on some of these barn door handles for a customer order, and I thought maybe that would make a good subject for a video. So join me while I make a few more of these. These handles end up being just a little over 12 inches long, which is what the customer asked for. They're a fairly light handle for a barn door handle, but they've got a big grip area so you could get two hands on it if you had a heavy door, if the door was stuck. And they have specifically requested that these handles mount with a 1/2 inch carriage bolt, so they have big square holes punched in them for the square shoulder on the carriage bolt to go through. The ones I'm going to do to show you won't look like that because I only need 2 of them that look like this, and I've already got those 2 done. So let's head over to the forge and get started. For these handles, I'm starting with a piece of material about 3/8 of an inch thick, which looks like it's about 10 millimeters, 3/4 wide, or 20 millimeters, and 14 inches long, and that looks like about 36 millimeters, roughly. If you're going to make a handle like this, you need to adjust these dimensions to make it fit what you want. If it doesn't have any specific requirements, then the dimensions don't matter exactly. This just gives you a general idea of what size handle you might achieve based on these dimensions. The first thing we need to do for these handles is to find this bean-shaped finial end. To do that, we're going to start with a round pad here that we will then peen out widthwise. And I think I will show these steps both here at the anvil and over at the power hammer, so you can see how that might be done under a power hammer with flat dies. So we're going to start with half-face blows. We're going to put about 1 inch over the edge of the anvil. Again, half-face blows, the hammer's half on the anvil, half off, and that creates a shoulder. Once we create the shoulder, I'm going to start to flare it with the peen of the hammer. Now we want this to be round, so before we go too far, of course you could knock the corners off before you started. This just starts rounding everything up for you. And then we can go ahead and spread that. So now we'll spread that with the peen evenly to create the bean finial. You may have to work on this a little bit. It may need a little bit of filing. And I want to just get in there and clean up that shoulder a little bit. So now it's just a matter of straightening everything up. That's what the finial end looks like. Let's do the second finial under the power hammer, and we can take a look at how the flat dies on the power hammer work and how you use some handheld tooling under the power hammer for your best advantage. I probably won't be able to talk while I'm doing this, so perhaps I'll do a voiceover after this is all done to describe the process that I'm using. By using this fuller right at the edge of the die, I can get half-face blows. Then I can clean up that half-face blows with a block under the center of the die. This works quite well. Working at the edge, I can round up the finial a little bit. This is just a matter of practice to be able to do this smoothly. I actually go a little bit too far here and end up with more of a diamond than I intended to. But it can be done quite round. Cleaning up the shoulder a little bit, and even under the flat dies you get a little bit of taper. Back to the fuller. This acts just like the peen of the hammer. Spread this widthwise. And this gives the round, goes from the round finial to an oval shape or more of the bean shape. Refine it again on the little flat plate there. And you just go back and forth between the tools as you need to. Quick and easy with flat dies under the power hammer. You don't have to change tooling, you don't have to turn the hammer off or take another heat unless the material cools off. The material is cooling off quickly here because it's a cold day and the dies haven't had a chance to warm up yet. Knocking the corners off and rounding the edge up just a little bit. This will save a whole lot of filing later. Certainly to just do one or two of these, there's probably no need to worry about doing it under the power hammer. But it is an option if you have a power hammer available. Well, hopefully that shows you a little bit about how you can do projects like this under a power hammer using flat dies and handheld tooling. And the handheld tooling replicates the edge of the anvil for half-face blows or replicates the peen of the hammer for drawing things out lengthwise or sideways. Lots of versatility working under flat dies with a power hammer. But these aren't too difficult to do at the anvil, so you don't need a power hammer to do these. And I do refine them and finish them at the anvil. I want the power hammer to make my life easier. I don't want it to define my work. In most cases. So I'm just cleaning up the power hammer forging. I want to make it look like the one we did at the anvil initially. And of course we want to clean up our edges to help give it kind of an oval shape. Much more comfortable to hold on to if it's not sharp. So the next thing I'm going to do is clean this up with a file or at the grinder and get that comfortable so I can hold on to it. So I have to let it cool first. So if you did a good job forging this and getting it close to the shape you wanted, it doesn't take much time to file it. But of course you can also use a grinder if you need to be a little bit more aggressive. This is also a good time to clean up the finial ends if they need it. And I like to put a little bevel on them. Now I'm going to put a little bit of a chisel decoration in the center of this handle. The ones that are going out to the customer just get two parallel lines, and this matches a bunch I did for them several years ago. But for this one I think I'm going to do the X's and O pattern. So I'm going to find center of this. And I know that's where the center of my X wants to go. So I'm just going to draw in my little X here and my center punch marks for this element. And I've put two little parallel lines on the outside of the X. And when I do the second handle that'll match this one, I'll do it exactly the same. Now you can certainly do this at the anvil with a hammer, but I would prefer to do it under the treadle hammer. I feel like I get better, more consistent results this way. Put my center punch marks in. Get this all polished up. It's kind of slippery, hard to hold the center punch in one place. The next step, we'll punch a hole for the bolt. And I think for this one, I'm not going to put that big 1/2 inch hole the customer's handles have. It just really doesn't need it. We'll go more like 3/8 of an inch for a 3/8 inch lag bolt. After that, we'll bend it to shape. Now I want to start in the back of this, and I'll explain why in just a second. So now I've established where my punch goes. Because of this shoulder, I can't get that over the pritchel hole, but because I started in the back and there's no shoulder now when I turn it around, I can line that up over the pritchel hole and drive the slug through. That makes life much easier. And that just barely fits. I'll go ahead and clear that out with a little round file or drill bit just to make sure that's a nice clean hole. So exact same procedure starting from the back side. You could almost punch this cold if you had a nice bolster to put it over and a way to hold it. And I went ahead and quenched this between holes so I could hold it in my hand. Otherwise this gets quite difficult to manage in a pair of tongs. And again, that just barely fits, so I'll clean it up a little bit with a file. Now you can certainly drill the holes in something like this, and if you've got a drill press, that's pretty quick, pretty easy. If you have a Whitney punch with the right size punch, you can punch them cold very easily. But not everybody has those tools available, and it is way easier to punch this hot at the anvil and then just clean it up with a drill bit held in a hand drill than it is to drill it initially with a hand drill. So it's entirely up to you how you want to get that hole. To bend that, we're just going to lock the finial in the vise and hold straight up with a pair of tongs. Then we can offset that with a ball peen hammer. Look straight down it this way, make sure it's not twisted. It's a good opportunity to fix it if it is. And turn it around to the other end. The other end goes exactly the same way. Take a look down it, see if it's straight. Hopefully your tongs are strong enough to bend it, but if not, grab a twisting wrench. That's what I think I'll do here. That's better. Now the last thing to do is set this on the anvil. Look to make sure it's even across the inside, so it's sticking off the door the same amount on both sides. Make little adjustments if it's not. Then make sure that the feet sit flat on the door, or in the anvil in this case. Then give it a last wire brushing. As it cools off, I'll put a little bit of paste wax on it. Well, that completes our door handle. It's been waxed. It's ready to go up on a door. And it ended up just a little bit over 12 inches like the other two were, so they're all about the same size. The only difference is the decorative element in this one and the fact that it has a 3/8 hole for a 3/8 lag bolt instead of that 1/2 inch square hole for the 1/2 inch carriage bolt. So I'm going to finish up. I think I've got 3 more of these started. That'll be 2 pair, and I'm going to put those on the Etsy shop sometime in the next week probably, and hopefully somebody will want these. Maybe they'll make a good Christmas gift for somebody. But that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Love it if you hit that subscribe button. Feel free to stick around, watch a few of the other videos, share the videos with your friends. If you'd like to support Black Bear Forge on YouTube financially, there are links down in the description for PayPal and Patreon. And of course, as always, there is no obligation. The content will remain free. That's merely a donation. In the meantime, I hope you can get out to your shop. I hope you can make something, but stay safe, wear your safety glasses, and we'll see you for the next one.